Hi guys, welcome to the MMA UK BJJ show. Obviously Stoomboy as per usual. So tonight joined by very special guest, obviously one of the kind of pioneers of British martial arts. As I said, anybody that talks about martial arts back in the early days in the UK, obviously Leigh's name always comes up, so it's an absolute honour to have him on. What we're going to do is we're going to touch on his jiu-jitsu. So we want to talk about his jiu-jitsu. Obviously, we'll find out a bit about how he started jiu-jitsu, a bit about his journey, competition experience as well. As I say, we'll have a chat about that. And yeah, we'll find out. As I say, the one thing I want to hear about is the trolling, because obviously he's an absolute underground legend when it comes to trolling. So I've heard. So we'll hopefully hear a bit about that as well. So Leigh, as I said, it's an absolute honour to have you on, sir. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I can't really hear my own voice with these things on, so if I am shouting, I apologise.
No, listen, you're coming across perfect, buddy. You're coming across perfect. So Leigh, yeah, I mean, as if let's kick off with the obvious then. So obviously the lockdown. I mean, anybody I've spoke to, we've obviously spoke about the lockdown because it's a big topic at the moment, not just in jiu-jitsu, but in the health and fitness industry as a whole. So obviously in regards to the lockdown, I mean, how's it been affecting you?
I mean, not as badly as it's affected a lot of my friends who run gyms. I do run a gym, so it's been a bit of a hassle. I can't teach, which is the biggest problem because it's my students who miss out. I don't teach to make money. I've got a job, so that's not my main concern, but I still got to pay the rent on the place. But I'm not losing my livelihood through it. Fortunately, it's my students suffering is probably a bigger issue for me. You know, a lot of them have been keen to train. My training hasn't suffered. Fortunately, we managed to qualify for elite status through the UK BJJ. Mm-hmm. So I've managed to, you know, to keep my training going. You know, just with a very, very small core of good athletes. Yeah. Like 3 or 4 of us training. That, you know, the council have through the government, they sorted us out some funding. You know, I think everyone got a small business grant. So it's crap. You know, it sucks, but we're doing. You know, I mean, like we're getting through it.
Yeah, definitely. And then obviously you mentioned about the elite status. Obviously the UK BJJ, the elite status. So I mean, how was that application for you going through that application? I mean, I know we went through it in Scotland, but Scotland's got very different rules to obviously England. So I mean, how was the application process and how quickly was it set up for you guys?
Right. So in my opinion, and I'm completely unbiased because the UK BJJ, I didn't really trust them, if I'm honest. I like Simon, I like Dickie, I like all the guys on there. I'm like genuinely, I'm friendly with them. But as an organization, I didn't, you know, wasn't really too sure about, you know, about the motives and everything else. But I did sign up through them mainly to get cheap insurance. But when they produced this elite athlete scheme, I really thought it was fantastic of them. You know, it really sold me on them as an association. And the application for me was very straightforward. It's the sort of thing I do all the time. You know, I'm an engineer, but I do safety and I do validation. So I'm filling in forms to comply to standards. I'm writing documents all the time. So it's relatively straightforward. You know, that they had some standards you had to show and comply to. You know, I've done that thousands of times. So I filled in the forms. I sent off the application. You know, and they accepted it. So it was really quite painless. And I think it's been really cool because not many other sports have done it. Like I know judo are finally doing it, but they took ages to get around to it. You know, my son, he's only little. He's only 8 years old, but he's a competitive trampolinist, and like he's looking at competing at an international level pretty soon. And they haven't been given any sort of like elite status or anything like that. You know, so they did get back to trampolining once lockdowns were over, and now it's off again. You know, so I think for jiu-jitsu we've been quite lucky.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed that with a lot of sports. I mean, even things like judo. I mean, judo. There was a lot of judo gyms that had closed because they couldn't open or they didn't. I think the only elite status they were able to get was like the Commonwealth athletes, Olympic athletes, and stuff like that. But your general gyms and stuff like that, they weren't open for whatever reason. So they didn't really have that. And it was the same with a lot of martial arts that we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. You know, it's difficult for judo because, and I guess I don't know if this sounds rude or not, but there aren't really judo athletes that get paid aside from the elite guys.
Yeah.
But if you're decent at jiu-jitsu, you can get onto shows that'll pay you, right?
Yeah.
You know, you can get onto MMA events and compete for cash, which it's not going to be loads unless you're absolutely fantastic, but it's enough to make an argument that, you know, this is supporting my income, you know. Yeah. So you know, that was the argument we made, at least, right?
Yeah. But no, it was good. I'm glad you managed to get open. You managed to stay open a bit. So, what's the situation now then? I mean, are you guys closed down now because obviously the lockdown in England until December the 2nd, or are you still able to train with the elite status?
So the elite status does still allow me to train. I have closed my gym, and we got a knock from the police last week. Well, my wife did. She was in the gym with her sister, and because it's all boarded up, someone reported people going in there and training, and the police came and knocked. And they said, like, what are you doing? And she goes, well, it's my husband's gym. I'm doing a workout, right? I mean, you know, like my wife can use my gym, right? Yeah. That's okay, you know. So, but, you know, it's no problem. You know, the police come down because we're doing everything above board. You know, we're in line with all the regulations. You know, we're doing the temperature checks. We're doing the sanitization. I've got all the signage up and everything else. You know, so it's a big hassle. I can train. I don't do too much, if I'm honest. You know, if I'm absolutely honest, I kind of been a bit spooked. I don't need the cops knocking on my door and giving me some hassle, and I don't want to answer a load of questions if I don't have to. Yeah. You know, if I'm honest, you know, speaking, you know, personally. So, but you know, I can train. Yeah.
No, I mean, we've seen a lot of videos. I mean, gym owners being dragged out by the police in handcuffs and things like that. I mean, I've seen, I can't remember, I think it was down in London where a woman gym owner was taken out in handcuffs, put in the back of the police car and taken away like you were a criminal. And then obviously you see stuff that's going on in Liverpool with, I think the boy's name is Nick Capel, where he's obviously went and tried to fight the government because I think his fines added up to, I'm sure, and again, somebody might correct me on this, but I'm sure
60 grand or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, 67,000, I'm sure it was. Yeah. But I mean, that's madness, absolute madness. And I mean, especially for jiu-jitsu gyms and stuff, I mean, you don't make a lot of money in jiu-jitsu gyms. As you mentioned there, you're not in it for the money. No. If you were in it for the money, you would have chose something different other than jiu-jitsu. I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I did. I chose engineering to make my money. Yeah. My gym makes enough for a takeaway at the end of the month, and that's about it.
Nice. So, and then obviously taking us on to your training then. So obviously jiu-jitsu. Now, as I mentioned, MMA, everybody kind of knows in regards to your MMA, what you've done, where it all came from and stuff like that. So you've spoke about it a number of times. So I wanted to kind of touch purely on your jiu-jitsu. So in regards to jiu-jitsu then, so where did it all begin for you?
So back in the 90s, I started some jiu-jitsu in Canada with a guy called Jason Farron. He competed in the UFC number 4. He's passed away now, unfortunately. But I trained with him solidly for a length of time, then came back to the UK and started competing MMA. But I never really graded, or I never trained with him just to do jiu-jitsu as a sport. I never trained to learn the grappling side for MMA. Then in the UK, I just did loads and loads of MMA, as you know. And about 5-6 years ago, I was friends with a guy called David Jacobs. I don't know if you know of him. He was a very well-known jiu-jitsu coach in the US. And we were pretty good friends. And I asked him if he could help me get into jiu-jitsu. I said, it's something I'd like to get into. In the UK, there's a lot of politics. I don't really want to get involved in that.
Yeah.
So he said he was friends with David Anuma, and advised me to contact him and start training with him. So that's what I did. You know, I met David and we got on well, and we started training. And he was my coach, and I learned jiu-jitsu under him. And that's when I started training with him, and he said that he suggested that I do a competition. So I said, well, of course, I love competing. And so I did a competition, and I did very well. I mean, it was at blue belt, so, and I don't mean any disrespect to anyone. I've been grappling a very long time, so it's obviously makes sense that I do quite well. It's not really fair, I suppose. You know, I've been training since the 90s. But yeah, you know, I did quite well, you know, and I loved it. You know, everyone was really, really cool in jiu-jitsu. You know, there weren't people booing me and, you know, mugging me off. And, you know, like when you do MMA, it's you know, it's a different culture, right? So everyone was really cool in jiu-jitsu, you know, and I got on really well with it. And, you know, so I trained with David, you know, for a number of years, and did pretty well.
Yeah. And obviously your first competition, you mentioned going in as a blue belt. So, I mean, what's the difference in regards to nerves and stuff like that? I mean, between, let's say, for you coming from MMA and then jiu-jitsu, what was the nerves like between competitions?
Right. So absolutely no comparison, in my opinion. But I'm not sure if that's because of the sport or because of the importance it had in my life. What do I mean by that? In MMA, every loss means it goes on your record, right? Every time you lose, it's on your record, and you get one shot at it. You get one shot at that fight. Then it's another camp for another fight. Whereas in a jiu-jitsu competition, nobody cares if you lose, right? And for me, it's just jiu-jitsu. It's you know, there's no big audience there. You know, there isn't. You know, I'm not cutting weight. You know, I'm not putting in a 10-week camp. You know, I'm not getting angry with my family all the time. You know, because I'm moody from not eating carbs, and you know, it's just a laugh. You know, I go in and I fight. You know, I fight against, you know, some other little old men like me, and we have a good laugh. You know, like you know, we do the fist bump at the beginning. In the matches, sometimes we chat during them, and we shake hands at the end, and it's a good laugh, right? So yeah, I don't really have. I mean, a little bit because it's competition, and you want to win, but it's just fun, you know. Yeah. For me, MMA wasn't fun. MMA, it was almost it wasn't really my job because I always worked alongside it, really, but it was my passion and my dream. So I wanted to really do well at it. So I had a lot of pressure myself. Whereas in jiu-jitsu, I don't really have it. I don't put pressure on myself. I just turn up, and, you know, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'll still shake your hand, and if I lose, I'll have a smile on my face because it means I've learned. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we get a lot of people, especially jiu-jitsu. I mean, a lot of people take it very, very seriously. And don't get me wrong, it's a martial art. Yeah, there is some serious elements to it. So, but a lot of people take it too seriously. And as you mentioned about fight camps and stuff, I mean, people will put in for, if they're going to the Euros, they'll maybe train like 3 months before and stuff like that. And people are cutting crazy weights and stuff like that. So I've seen it. I've been to the Euros a few times and competed, you know, and I've done all right. And I've been with friends, and I've seen them absolutely panicking and going crazy. You know, oh, you know, I've got a competition, and my gi doesn't fit, or this happened, and I get it, right? But when you've been punched in the face on international TV, right? I mean, it's just a pajama match. Nobody cares, right? Yeah. No, I get it. It's a Euros, and you get one shot a year at it, right? So it is big, you know. But if you're competing in something local, you know, I mean, I'm only doing you know, a local comp to try and get some experience and try and find out if my new guard pass is working. You know, that's it.
Yeah. But no, people do as they do. I mean, I know for me personally, I mean, I go in and I just enjoy myself. I mean, I did it when I first. Now, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for about 6 years, coming up for 7 years now. Now, I remember being the first couple of years, maybe the first 3 years into it, and taking it seriously. Where I would go to a competition, and I'm only 5'4", and I fight in the super heavy, so I'm under 100 kilos. And
Right.
the reason I went in at 100 kilos is I dropped from about 127 down to under 100. And I thought, do you know what? That was my first competition. And I said, see if I get smashed, then I'll drop weight again. And I went out and I won my first competition. And then, so the first early part of my blue belt, it was serious. I mean, I was losing like 6 to 8 kilos a couple of weeks before going to competitions and doing it completely wrong. And then I think it was like the kind of later part of my blue belt, or where I am at the moment, I then realised, well, look, go out and enjoy yourself, have fun. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you're going out there, and as you said, you're going out there and you're meeting like-minded people, and it's a role at the end of the day. And sometimes the role at the Euros, it might not be as intense as maybe a role in the gym. So I did take it very seriously at the start, but now, I mean, I go out and have a laugh and just annoy people.
Now, it might be easy for me to say that and have that attitude because I do quite well at jiu-jitsu. I mean, I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I do all right. I mean, I win more than I lose. So it's easy for me to say, just go out. Don't worry about it. It's just jiu-jitsu. If you're going out and you're losing all the time, it's going to be stressful. I get that. I've got friends that have had long losing streaks, and I'm so impressed with them to stick at it, stay back in there, stay in the game. And turn it around, and then they start winning and winning and winning, right? And it's really cool to see. And I get that the mindset for one person is going to be different for the mindset for another person. Like to someone else, competing in MMA could just be a joke. It could be a laugh, and that's cool, right? Maybe judo would be their big thing, and then they're going to do a bit of that cage fighting stuff, just for a bit of fun. So I get it. But for me, because MMA was my passion and I didn't want to keep putting more losses on my record, right? It became stressful. But for jiu-jitsu, I just don't care. I mean, I like to win. It looks good, right? If I'm trying to advertise the gym, but for my own development, I'm not really fussed.
Yeah, definitely. And then one of the questions we've got coming in there is Katie Hunter. Katie Hunter is she does the MMA side of the MMA UK news. So what's the best piece of advice that you have been given, whether it be for jiu-jitsu, for MMA, or even life in general?
Fantastic question. Not something I can think of off the top of my head, to be honest. I don't know. I'd probably take some advice. I'll give you an answer, and then I think, actually, I should have said this. Can I come back to it later? Over the course of the show, I'll have a think. It is a great question. I can't really think of too much, to be honest.
No, that's fine. We can come back to that. We could definitely come back to that. So obviously.
Sorry. I was going to say sorry for such a wishy-washy, pathetic answer. It's got me on the spot there, so I can't really think of an answer. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So
I'll make something up. Like I don't know. Maybe I watched He-Man or something, and I saw his dad give him some advice. I don't know. I'll make something up. I'll probably go with Skeletor, to be honest.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, sorry. Go on.
No. So we were talking about your blue belt. So when did you?
Okay,
When did you get your blue belt? What year was that roughly?
6 years ago. I don't know. I've got it at the gym somewhere. So I went and trained with David, and we rolled, and he said, "Okay, look, you can't compete as a white belt. Because I'm much more experienced than a white belt, and B, because I was a pro MMA fighter, so you can't compete as a white belt anyway." So he gave me my blue belt pretty much there and then, which was quite cool. I'm like, oh wow, first belt straight away. That's really nice. So it wasn't a big ceremony or anything like that. Like we met up and he gave me a blue belt. So I can't give you any sort of background into my white belt because I didn't have one. I said my first jiu-jitsu competition. I did compete in a couple of grappling competitions before that, though. I did I've done 3 or 4 grappling competitions before that. Like I did one in 2000, I think. I did the Andy Jardine ran and something called the Iron Man, and I've competed in that. I competed in Urban Guerrillas, I think, that Jude Samuel put on, and I did a Hereford competition, under Dave Coles. So all of that was 15, 20 years ago as well. So then I'm coming in. It's not. I'm not really giving a fair representation to say that my first ever competition, I've just come in and done well. You know, I had grappled before competitively.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, when you look at your MMA record, I mean, I'd kind of put it up there. So you had 18 wins, and out of them 18 wins, 13 were by submission. So,
yeah. I did have a load more fights than that as well, but they're not always, they're not all counted. You know, I did quite a lot of amateur fights on the KSBO stuff in the 90s. And I've got some underground fights that I did that aren't on there as well.
Yeah. So obviously you'd had, so coming in as a or starting in jiu-jitsu, I mean, your grappling experience was phenomenal at that point. I mean, I'd say going in and having recorded 18 fights, 18 wins, and then having 13 submissions. So
yeah, I did have decent submission skills for MMA. So I'd really, I guess I've got to phrase it properly. I had good grappling skills for MMA, but that has to be adapted for jiu-jitsu, right? You know, I mean, at blue belt it was fine. You know, when I got to purple belt, I mean, that was no joke. You put a gi on, you put me in BJJ rules against purple belts. Wow, that was tough.
Yeah, definitely. And then, so obviously you blue belt, so about 5 or 6 years ago, and then so the first competition you did, obviously we know about that. So what was your competition experience after that then as a blue belt? Did you compete quite a bit as a blue belt?
Yeah, and I used to feel bad because I'd go in and I'd take people down and submit them, and then got a medal, right? Which sounds really cool, I guess, right? But you know, I'd beaten like brown belts in competitions years and years ago, right? So to come in and beat up some old men who were blue belts, I felt. I mean, that was me as well, right? I'm not saying that they're old guys and I'm making fun of them, because I was an old guy too, right? But I had much more experience than them. You know, if they had the same experience as me, maybe I wouldn't have beaten them, right? But I'm going in against guys who are decent blue belts, right? But they've been training 4 years and I've been training 20 years, right? So it's not really fair. So yeah, the first competition I did, I think it was an IBGF London thing. So I won. I got gold in my division. I got gold in the absolute. Then I did a few more competitions. I didn't do too many. I didn't. So I can't remember if I've told the story anywhere else, but it was quite funny. I did Naga, and I competed in the no gi. I did their expert division, and in the gi I did the blue belt division. So I'm competing in, but they ran the no gi first. So you've got the beginner, intermediate, expert, and then white belt, blue belt, purple belt in the gi, right? So I start. They've gone novice, beginner, intermediate, expert. So I'm competing here. Then straight away I'm back in at blue belt in the gi, and I was running across Crystal Palace with my gi trousers, trying to pull them back up. And they're calling my name. I'm in the middle of the finals of my match, and I win the Naga belt, so I'm really happy. And then they're like, Leigh Remedios, last call to mat number 2. I'm like, hang on, I've got to get gi on first. So I'm running across, So half naked across Crystal Palace, trying to get myself together as I'm on this mat, right? So I did a few of those. I did the English Open no gi. I entered that as black belt. So I spoke to David about that. I said, would you be cool me doing a black belt division in no gi? And I messaged Simon Hayes, who was running the event, and I said, I'd like to compete in a no gi division. I'm a blue belt, but with a lot of MMA experience. What do you want me to compete in? He goes, well, it's up to you. We'd like you to do black belt. And I said, well, yeah, of course, I'd love to do black belt.
Yeah.
So I did that. I only had one opponent, but I won. So I did quite well there. I mean, it was no gi, right? So bear in mind that it's obviously different to gi. But in the no gi stuff, I tried to compete at a black belt level wherever I could. And then in a gi, obviously, I did blue belt. So I did a few competitions. I won them because, as you'd expect, a guy with a lot of experience to do well. So then I got my purple pretty quick, which seemed about right.
And then purple belt, I mean, I saw, I was looking at some of your pictures, and I mean, you were in a competition at, I believe it was Naga, and the guy in second place, I'd fought that guy as a blue belt in the British 2015, I think it was. So I recognised the guy, and I was like, you had obviously beat the guy. I got beat from him, but he was lighter. Obviously, we went in the absolute, and I'd fought him, but he had a good. I can't even remember his name. I think he's from Poland or somewhere like that. So so I kind of, and it's funny that, I mean, I'm a similar age to you. I mean, you're what, 43?
44.
44. So I'm what, 42. So so yeah, we'd have probably around about the same time I was a blue belt. You'd have maybe been around about a blue belt as well. So
yeah, probably.
So so yeah, I wouldn't have fancied it. Obviously they said, right, Stuart, Leigh Remedios, and I'd be like, oh my god, here we go.
So I think a few people may have felt like that, right? Because and I get it, you know, like I did a judo comp years ago, the grading, and I went in as a white belt because I was a white belt. To my first judo grading, and I fought this guy, and you know, and I took him down and I submitted him, or I can't remember how. I might have thrown it. I might have beaten by Ippon, right? I mean, but he was a white belt, and his coach had said to me, "Oh, you know, you did really well. He's one of the best guys in our team. You know, he's been training solidly for 3 months." I'm like, yeah. I feel really bad now. And he comes over to me and he goes, "Yeah, it was a real honor to fight you. I've seen you fight on TV."
Yeah.
I mean, I feel really bad now. You know, like this guy's had 3 months training, turned up to a judo comp, and he's got a pro fighter come and dump him on his head, right? I mean, I'm not trying to big myself up. I'm just explaining that the experience, you know, as I've done the different sports, and I absolutely respect those sports enough to say I'm going to start at the bottom, right? It just does mean that because I've got a lot of experience in MMA, that it's not always fair for me to go against other beginners, right? You know, but it is what it is.
Definitely. There's somebody coming in saying Leigh is 12-year-old. All right. Somebody just adding on to that, and a half. So
yeah, that counts.
And then you were talking about, obviously people would see you on the TV. So Chris is talking about his dad used to watch you, watch all your fights. Where is the stronger camaraderie, MMA or BJJ?
Okay, so I don't think there's any question about that. For sure, it's jiu-jitsu. Now, that may be because I'm in the old man division, and I know that the masters tend to be, you know, tighter and closer and friendlier. You know, I think I haven't done too many adult divisions. I've done a couple of adult divisions, but they were cool with me. You know, but as I understand it, generally the adult division, the masters divisions tend to be a bit friendlier or, you know, closer. Everyone's really, really cool. You know, like even the guys that I was way more experienced than, they would say to me that it was really cool to fight someone with more experience. You know, they never complained about it. You know, everyone's really cool. You know, and I've got guys that I've competed against a lot, and they come and train with me, and I go and train with them. You know, it's really, really cool.
Yeah. That's why I enjoyed when they set up the Masters comp in Hereford, and you went down and it was just, you walked in and it was just a room full of old guys, and you walked in, you're like, this is great, this is fantastic. So
yeah,
you weren't coming up against an 18-year-old, do you know what I mean, somebody that's ready to kill you.
Yeah.
But it was just somebody you
time.
Yeah. So I enjoyed that. So, and then we've also got Ricky Wright. Was you robbed against Gene Silva?
Well, not in the first fight. He banged me out, right? In the second fight, yeah. I won that fight. Yeah, in the second fight, I won it. Yeah.
Brilliant. So definitely you were robbed in that one. And then would you rather fight in the gi or blue Speedos?
Right. What sort of competition? I mean, but blue Speedos are amazing, right? I mean, my electric blue Speedos, they were really, really cool, right? And I was wearing them when I beat up John Silver. Just for those aren't aware, so we had it was a cage raged world title fight, and we went to a draw. clearly I beat him up. If you watch the fight, I just beat him up. I punched him to the floor, I kicked him around, dumped him on his head. You know what I mean? I beat him up. He beat me up in the first fight. He knocked me out, right? So I'm not trying to say that like I'm better than the guy. But in that one particular fight that Ricky brings up, I mean, we're talking like well over 15 years ago, right? But yeah, I won it. People's champ.
And then, in regards to training combat sports, so what's the second best combat sports to train alongside jiu-jitsu?
Good question. I think it depends on your focus, right? Yeah. Like if you're talking about for actual combat, for actual like, MMA fighting or for self-defense, BJJ wouldn't be top of my list. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't be. I would say I would probably go with something like wrestling, or maybe some Muay Thai with hands, with some better boxing. BJJ would probably be third on my list of maybe even lower. I don't know. I think it's great, but the sport jiu-jitsu that people do, I'm not so sure how effective it is for real fighting. I mean, it's a sport, and I love it as a sport. Like if someone loves tennis, or as I mentioned earlier, my son loves trampolining. I wouldn't say he's the best fighter because he can bounce on trampoline, and I wouldn't say someone's the best fighter because they can sit on their bum and pull around on collars, right? But it's a great sport. Yeah. If you're saying about the best sport to train to help your BJJ, which is a different question, in my opinion, wrestling. Again, then I would say judo. Wrestling and judo are pretty close, but they have different emphasis. And the sport of BJJ, wrestling gives you better entries for takedowns, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And then Ricky Wright again. What the fuck is a Shane Mansfield?
Oh my God. Right. Okay. So there's this thing in Chippenham, right? I think it goes by the name of Shane Mansfield. I don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. It looks really old, right? It's got grey tuss of hair sticking all out of it. Oh, and I blocked it a long time ago on Facebook. I try and never talk to it, whatever it is. Yeah.
Nice. And then obviously your throat, because obviously there's a lot of people that I've spoke to have mentioned about when I said I was going to be interviewing you, and they're like, oh, trolling legend on the underground. So where did that all come about?
No idea what you're talking about. What? Trolling? I'm a respected martial artist. I run a gym. I compete. I'm friendly with everyone. What are you talking about? I don't troll. Right, that's right. Okay, so MMA was very much an internet-driven sport back in the 90s and the early 2000s. Okay, so back in the 90s, I was competing, and I probably want to try and explain my mindset when I would compete. I used to get a lot of nerves, as I said, but I had stage fright as well. Like, I'm not a performer. I don't want to be in front of a lot of people. I'm all right with it now, just over the years of just doing it a lot, but it makes me uncomfortable. I don't want to be on TV in front of a load of people. I don't want to be in the cage with thousands of people staring at me. It's not my thing. I just wanted to fight. I didn't do it to get famous or to get rich or to, to be, for any sort of like prestige. I just wanted to get in there and fight people to be the best fighter I could be. And that's how I started. I was fighting in Canada, in the warehouses and stuff. And that's what we did. And I came to the UK. I'm from Kent, but I came back to the UK and I started fighting over here. And then I'm seeing my name pop up on internet forums, and this is strange. It's a bit weird. I'm not used to it, Mm-hmm. And then people would start like taking digs or criticizing me, and it probably wasn't that bad. I'm probably remembering it wrong, right? But to me, it was kind of like, and excuse my French, I'm going to swear here, so I apologize. But I was like, who the fuck are you? The fuck do you think you're talking to, right? Yeah. I don't know you, and your opinion is fucking irrelevant, right? If I have a fight, that's my business. It's not your business. You haven't paid me anything, right? You haven't even turned up and bought a ticket, right? Mm-hmm. Who the fuck do you think you are? But you can't go around and punch people, right? Yeah. And certainly not if you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Right. So my way of dealing with it was to play them at their own game, right? Someone makes some snarky comment, right? Well, you're going to get a snarky comment back, and And I'm a pretty sharp-witted guy, if I say so myself.
Yeah.
And I'm better at it than the idiots who go, "Oh, that was crap." Yeah, well, I put an asterisk and say, I'll correct their spelling. People hate that. You're no good. Y-O-U-R.
Yeah.
Y-O-U-R-E.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then just little things like that, and it just built from there. It got. You start building like a bit of a fan base for it. People wanted to join in, and so we had like teams going, and it's just a bit of fun, really. But that was it.
This would have been on. Was it Reddit? Was it Reddit? It was on. Was it?
No. So there was we started on the underground, the MMA TV. It used to be called Submission Fighting, right? Back in the 90s. It opened in 97, I think. And so we were on there. And then the UK had their own website, SFUK, so it's Submission Fighting UK. So we were on there as well. And I kind of fell out with the locals there. So there's a bit of a feud. Yeah, that was it. Then it moved to Cage Warriors, which was cool. The Cage Warriors forum was much more relaxed. And I didn't do too much trolling on that forum, a little bit, but everyone was much cooler on there. And then it moved to Facebook, right? And now Facebook, I can't help myself. And I'm going to apologize to people because I know I'm going to offend a load of you with this, but it is full of morons, absolute imbeciles. And I like a lot of them. A lot of them I really get on with, I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to upset anyone. Yeah. But I've got friends and they post on there and it's such banal stupidity and ignorance. And I have to call them on it. I can't help myself. I'm like, you're doing it wrong. You don't understand, basic critical thinking. Yeah. Brexit brought it out in them, Oh my God, Brexit was really, really, you see where the real idiots are, Then this COVID thing, oh my God, you see a lot. And people are saying, "Ooh, am I an idiot? Which side's Leigh on? Does he think I'm right or does he think I'm an idiot?" Right? I'm not going to tell you. Maybe I think you're an idiot. Maybe I think you're smart. All right, I'm not going to tell you which side I'm on. But COVID has brought out a lot of idiots. Chances are you're one of the idiots.
Well, listen, I try and stay away from it. I mean, I know I posted something up today about tier 4 lockdown, but I try not to. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a fucking politician. And don't get me wrong, everybody has a rant, and then you jump on and you just have a laugh with them. But I mean, so I try not to.
I mean, we certainly can talk science and politics if you want to. I don't imagine it's going to go very well.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, that's something I do try and stay as much away from it as possible. I mean, people were asking me about different things. I remember the Black Lives Matter stuff. They were all protesting and rioting in America, and they were saying, "Stuart, what side are you on?" And I was like, "Do you know what? I don't care, man." Do you know what I mean? People do whatever they're doing, and the same with coronavirus. I mean, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I mean, we can't stop things like lockdowns and stuff like that. So who am I to stand there and argue with scientists and stuff like that? So stuff like that I stay away from. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, right. No, I agree with you, right? I think it's hard to argue with scientists, but I hate to take that as a stance in general. That okay, and I'm very careful not to fall into the we're sick of experts, right? Someone's more educated than me on a subject, and they're more educated than me. Absolutely, right. But that doesn't mean that I can't call that faulty logic. Yeah. Right. But scientists, when you see the science, unless you fully understand it, it's hard to criticize it. Unless you really read up on it and understand exactly what's going on. People start making arguments about vaccines, and they say. Yeah, I don't know if everyone else can see the messages. They probably can. Right, but people argue about the vaccine and the logic behind it. But it's actually just isn't it a dose of COVID? I mean, you don't understand the science. Don't try and argue it, right? Because you clearly don't understand, what you're talking about, and that's true in my case for a lot of things too. So I won't make an opinion, But sometimes, you can see stuff like when people deny that COVID is even real. I mean. Come on. I mean, it clearly is real. I know a lot of people that have had it, and now if you're going to argue that the government's response to it is good or bad, we can absolutely have an argument on that. I mean, I'm not a fan of this government, and I think I never was a fan of this government. And I'm not going to say that I'm a lefty or a righty or anything like that. I just call out incompetence. I call out lies and I call out incompetence, right? And Boris is clearly both.
Yeah.
Anyway, no politics, right?
So, well, there's one thing. James Lewis, Leigh loves Trump, so he's scared.
Right. Okay, you're going to hear my opinion on it. I'm not a fan of Trump. I'm not one of these guys that's got like TDS, like Trump derangement syndrome. I'm not like anything he does I'm against. It's not the case. Like when he built his wall, I think, well, we don't attack other countries that want to build, want to protect their borders. The EU have had to do it. The EU is getting a lot of like mass illegal immigration from Eastern Europe, and they put up fences, right? I mean, it's had to be done in some places, right? You can't just have open. Well, maybe you could have open borders. I don't know if that's going to work for you. But my point is, if someone wants to protect their borders, I don't blame them for it. Like the babies in cages thing. Maybe it could have been done differently. And I don't want to offend anyone, by not being on their side. But I understand that when you've got someone that breaks the law and they brought their kid with them, you've got to manage the kids somehow, right? Yeah. Are they doing it the right way? Probably not, right? But I'm not going to just jump straight in and say, he's ripping, kids away from their families and, just for the sake that I don't like Trump. That's not the case. Yeah. But I think he's been very, very divisive for his country. I think he's done a terrible job of COVID. They've had over, there must be close to 250,000 deaths now. Right, I
think, I mean, it's. I was looking at it today. In fact, I mean, the crazy amounts of deaths coming out of America. So, what did today?
And I mean, like I know that UK's got a high number of deaths too. And I'm absolutely not trying to say that we've done a good job, because we have not. We absolutely have not. We've done a terrible job ourselves. But the US, and I get that it's a number of cities, but they do still have a much, much, much lower population density than the UK. Like, and they say, oh yeah, but once you're in a city, then it's dense, right? And absolutely, I understand that. But if you look at population density in the UK, if you look at it on a map, the whole country is just spread with people, right? It's just people are all over the place. Whereas in the US, you have a cluster of people here in New York, then down in New Jersey, then you move down the eastern seaboard, and then you move out to the Midwest, and it's really sparse. Then back onto the West Coast, and it runs down. But but these centers are spread out, right? Yet they've got more deaths per capita than we have. That's really bad management. When you've got a president that's saying, we're looking into injecting people with disinfectant and like, I'm probably misrepresenting his position. I've kind of played that up a little bit, right? But people have started doing this, and he's been irresponsible with his speech. Is my point. He's very divisive with the way he talks to people. He's very partisan. And if you're on the left, he absolutely despises you, and his followers do the same, right? And I think that's been terrible for their country. I mean, I don't know any other president. I mean, and they've had a lot of shit presidents, right? But I'm not really a fan of any of them. But I can't think of anyone that's been as divisive as Trump has for his people.
Very brash guy, yeah. I mean, as I said, anytime he does, anytime they put him on the mic, he's one of these people where you would want to keep him away from the mic or away from a public as much as possible.
Twitter is ridiculous. I mean, his absolute crying hissy fit on Twitter has been ridiculous. Every hour he's posting how he's been ripped off and robbed, and maybe he has. Maybe there's been something going on. Okay, I mean, personally, I don't think it's going to make a difference. He's still going to be out, right? Personally, I think that's the case. But that's my opinion, right? Opinion doesn't mean anything, right? Yeah. But the fact is, if you think that you've been, hard done by, fine, get that, and you absolutely, if you want to recount, you're entitled to one. Yeah. But be a man about it, right? Don't. And I'm sorry if I offend anyone for being sexist there, right? But I mean, okay, but stop being a baby, right? I mean, have you recount? Do it. Stop whining and crying. It's going to happen or it's not going to happen, right? Yeah. The absolute pathetic crying and whining about it. It's just disgusting, right? You lost. And I've learned that through MMA, right? I mean, you lose, you've lost. And all you can do is shake hands and say, you're the better man, right? That's all you can do, or they'll beat you up again, right? And that's what's going to happen. He's going to have a recount and he's going to lose twice. right? I mean, he's going to get beaten up again.
Yeah, definitely. And then we'll get back to the training. So,
yeah,
John Roberts. So, did you train with Steve Morris?
Yes, I did. Not jiu-jitsu, obviously.
And he's saying, if so, was he as mad as people say?
I don't know how mad people have said, but yes, he was. Yeah, quite the nutcase. And I mean that affectionately. I don't mean that in a mean way. You know, I never really had any issues with Steve. I know a lot of people have. He was all right with me. You know, I mean, sometimes he had some harsh words, but he was like an old school karate guy that just wanted to wreck people. You know, he's like in his 60s, like just busting things up, right? Like, I mean, the story that I tell people when they ask about him is he started trying to get us to toughen our feet up to kick things. I'm like, okay, don't know where we're going with this. And he had this medicine ball, right? This big, thick, heavy medicine ball, right? Sorry, I moved my hands the wrong way because my camera's inverted, right? And he put it on the floor. He's going, right, go and kick the medicine ball. Like, what? Yeah. Like, kick it with your foot. And so we're kind of going over and gingerly kicking this medicine ball. Like, kind of, yeah. And he's looking at us like we're a bunch of pussies, which I guess we were. Yeah. He's like, not like that, like this. And I'm not kidding you. Like this medicine, I don't know how heavy it was. I'm going to take a guess. It's probably one of those like 5-6 kilo medicine balls. So leather with sand in it, you know. And he's bounced it off the wall repeatedly with his foot. He goes like this, and it's going bang, 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 bang. This medicine ball, it's like a basketball bouncing off this wall with his foot. Yeah. Like, and he would show techniques to us. He'd grab someone, and you just wished it wasn't you, right? And please be someone else. Please, he'd come over and he'd go, yeah, and this technique here. And then he'd headbutt you in the face or in the head, kick you in the balls. Yeah, and then like this and like this. Like, just pick someone else. Yeah. But I mean, he was tough, you know, and his training was decent, you know, and he was a smart guy. You know, he was really intelligent. Your jiu-jitsu viewers probably don't know who Steve Morris is, right? He was an old guy that lived down by Gatwick Airport. You know, not, you know, I mean, but yeah, he's a decent fighter, decent coach. Yeah, that's about all I can say.
I mean, martial arts in general is filled with characters like that. Whether it's martial arts or karate, even jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu's got a few characters, a few old school characters like that. Yeah. Where you go and train with them and you think, oh my God, why have I came into this gym and they just smash you? They're just there to smash you. They're only there to want to kill people. So, so it's always good having people like that in any sport. Do you know what I mean? Because one, it gives you good stories to tell people in years to come. I mean, having someone like that that's just there to kill you all the time it kind of helps you as well. So, so then you purple belt. So again, roughly when was your purple belt? So blue belt was what, about 5-6 years ago. So purple belt.
Yeah. So right. Okay. So the dates off the top of my head, I started training with David Enuma at the end of 2014 or the beginning of 2015. Yeah. And I got my blue belt at the end of 2015. I think. Yeah. No. Sorry. No, sorry. I got my blue belt straight away. I got my purple belt at the following yearly grading because it was only right. You know, I was actually getting coaches. More than once, I had a couple of coaches come up to me and say, look, Leigh, it's not right. You're competing as a blue belt, right? You know, it's not really fair. Which, of course, I understand that. I can't give myself a belt, though, right? So, but I think, you know, David realized that, and he gave me my purple belt within about a year. You know, I went out and I bashed everyone at blue belt, and then he gave me my purple about a year, the end of 2015, I think. Yeah. So and then I got my purple, and then straight away I was happy. You know, I wanted to compete at purple. You know, and it was a very, very different world to blue belt. You know, that was different. Yeah.
So you were so obviously being a purple belt then. So what was the big differences? Because again, I mean, you hear a lot of people, especially when they go from white to blue, they talk about there's not much of a difference between white and blue, or white and early blue. And then obviously when you get up to your later blue, 3-4 tabs before you become a purple belt, then it all kind of starts making sense at that point. So what was the big differences for you going from blue belt to purple belt and competing?
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I've competed across all the belts, really. You know, including black belt. I know I'm not one, right? But I've competed, you know, against a few black belts. So I've competed against, you know, across all the belts. this is my opinion, and it's open to interpretation. And as again, opinions are worthless. But my opinion, for what it's worth, white belts make mistakes, right? I mean, I didn't compete at white belt, but I have students that do, and white belts make mistakes. Blue belts, you can get them to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Like if you're going into white belt, they might turn their back, right? Or they might leave their arms out, in guard or something silly like that, right? Because they're white belts, right? And they're learning, of course, right?
Yeah.
At blue belt, they know not to do that stuff, but you can force it on them pretty easily. You pass someone's guard in blue belt, they don't want to get scored on, so they'll turtle, right? Well, thank you very much. In go my hooks, right? And then, do it outside so you can see on the camera, and then so you can, or you collar choke them or whatever, right? So blue belts, you can make mistakes. Purple belt, I'm not going to say they don't make mistakes, but yeah, they basically don't make mistakes. Purple belts, they know, that's good. In my opinion, purple's considered the expert belt and up, really. Purple belt and up. Yes, they'll make mistakes, but they'll be much smaller and harder to capitalize on. Purple belts aren't going to turn their backs. They aren't going to break their own posture in your guard. They're not going to do things like that. They've got a game plan. They know that if they're in your guard, they've got to stand and open your guard. They know that when they come out to fight you, that they've got to get grips and pull if that's their game. They don't cut. I've seen it a lot, and I speak to guys at competitions. And I say, at blue belt and white belt, I see other white belts and I speak to them. When I was a blue belt or whatever, and I'd say, okay, so what's your strategy? What your game plan? And the number of times I heard people say, I'm just going to go out and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Geez, I mean, can you fight me? I'd love to fight a guy who hasn't got a strategy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I get that's something that I got from years and years and years of competing in MMA. You go in there with a game plan. I know my game. I'm not going to go out there and let the other guy figure out what to do first and just react. I'm not going to be reactive. That's absolutely mental in a combat situation, right? I'm going to go out there and I'm going to attack him, right? And I've learned, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that I've got all the answers, because I made all those mistakes and then some. I mean, I've gone into fights and I've tried to be reactive. Well, let's see how this goes. I'll tell you how it goes. You get your face punched in, right? You've got to go out and you got to smash him before he smashes you. Right? I mean, because something I've learned is that hesitation kills. I mean, to answer the question given earlier about my best advice, that may be it. I was told hesitation kills, and it's something I learned. Hesitation kills. If you go out to compete in martial arts and you're reactive, you're going to get beaten. Like if I fought, okay, guy's really old, shouldn't really pick on him, I suppose, but he still beat me up. If I was to have a boxing match with Mike Tyson, okay, he would smash me to pieces, right? No question. Obviously, I mean, I don't even need to say that, right? But if he did nothing but defend, eventually, I mean, maybe after a week or two, I'd win, right? It'd take a long time, but if he never attacked me, eventually I would win, right? I understand the mentality because I had it myself. If you go out there and you attack, you open yourself up and you might lose, right? Got you, and that's daunting. But you're in the fight now, right? If you don't attack, you're going to lose, right? If you attack, you might lose. If you don't attack, you will lose. So you have to go out there and impose your game on your opponent. That's something that I'm pretty good at, just from years of competing. I wasn't always, really I wasn't, I wasn't good at that, but coming out, taking the center of the mat or taking the center of the cage, and making them fight my fight, that's something that I'm quite good at just from being a combat athlete for a long time. Yeah.
Nice. So obviously going through your purple belt, as I said, a little bit harder than blue belt. So what kind of things, what kind of competitions? Because I know about the Naga. Obviously, we've seen some of the pictures. So what kind of competitions were you doing as a purple belt?
I did the Euros a couple of times. I did the European no-gis as well. I did Naga a couple of times, and I did some local ones. Like I did the English Open. I think I did. Which isn't local. I mean, I was going to give some local ones, but the English is quite prestigious. I did that one. I've done Hereford. I did Alex de Souza's ones. I can't remember what they're called, Dorset and Hants or something like that. I think he changes the name of them sometimes. I can't remember which one I did. The one with gave out the the frog medals. I did that.
Yeah.
So I did Bristol Open. I did what's the one in London? Warrior Cup, I think.
Warrior Cup, yeah.
London. I did that one. And a lot of these were gi and no gi, so that was cool to get like 2 competitions in. And a lot of times I jump in on the absolute if I could, just to get the experience. So I did quite a few of those. My biggest win at purple, I think, was I won the European no gis, and I won the Masters European Masters that they hold in Barcelona.
Yeah.
That was quite a big win for me because I got silver in the Europeans that year, and then the guy that got gold, he then got his brown belt. So then in my division, I had an argument to be the best guy in Europe in my division in the gi, because the guy just gone up a belt. So then we went to Barcelona, and there was no one in my division, so I went down an age bracket, and it was all the guys from the Europeans, and I won it. It wasn't easy. I mean, and all the matches were very, very close. Won by like 2 points or an advantage or something. It was very. Everyone there was really, really good. So that made it better. Although I didn't whoop everyone, I did win every match and in the age bracket down. And it was really good because that was a stacked division. That was really good. So that's probably my best win at purple. I think that was really, really good. I was really, really happy with that one.
Nice. And then
because the guys in there were really the best in Europe. They're really, really good guys. Yeah. And anyone could have won that division as well. Just whoever turned up on the day, I suppose. Anyone. We were all so close. Anyway, right. Sorry.
And then when did VT come about? When did that all kick off? Was that when you first started jiu-jitsu, or did that come?
No. I did that years and years ago. I opened VT Jiu Jitsu in 2006.
Right. Okay.
As an MMA and no-gi grappling school. Right. Because I was teaching in Kent when I was there. Then I moved up north to train. Up there. And then I moved down to Chippenham for work and opened a gym here in 2006. Yeah. And I thought, right, okay, well, if I've been teaching a lot of different places, had my own schools here and there. Let's give it a brand. So I called it VT Jiu Jitsu back in 2006. Then 2 years that out of the local sports centre. 2 years later, we got our own premises, and that's where we've been ever since. Yeah.
And the name VT. So where did that name come from?
I would have thought it'd be obvious, but it's not. I get that. It's not obvious to a lot of people. It's Vale-Tudo.
Right. Okay.
That was the style. That was really the style that I trained in. That I was the strongest at. When I first started training, they didn't have MMA. The term didn't exist. There was. It was called NHB, no holds barred fighting, and there wasn't this like no kicking it down opponent, no headbutting. I mean, I fought and you were headbutting people, you were kicking the balls. We didn't wear gloves. It was Vale-Tudo, right? We were fighting Vale-Tudo, and we trained we trained for Vale-Tudo competition. So that's my first club in Ashford was called Ashford Vale-Tudo, and that's now run by my very good friends Ben Stuart and Warren Berry, who are jiu-jitsu guys. Warren's a black belt under Carlson's, so it's really nice that that, and they're actually now with Ben Poppleton with us. So it's really nice that we've been friends for over 20 years, right? And we're all still matey. That's really cool, Nice. But that's what the VT is from. It's always been Vale-Tudo. It's always been martial arts, really, to fight, not martial arts, for the I guess for the tradition or for the rule set. It's always been martial arts for combat, So that's where the VT comes from.
Nice one. And then brown belt then. So brown belt, when did that come about for you? Because that was your last belt under David that you mentioned.
Yes. So. Yeah. So I was purple for 2 years. So for the first 6 months, I really struggled at purple competition. And that was important for me. That was really, really good. Because my grappling was good, and I'm going to competitions. And I was just getting whitewashed. I was going in, I'd lose my division. I'd go in the absolute, I'd lose that first match every time. I was getting beaten, and I'm thinking, but I don't think I'm worse than these guys. Maybe that was arrogance, right? But I mean, I turned out to be right, I suppose. So I mean, it was, I was trying to be analytical about it, right? It wasn't because they were necessarily, of course they were better than me. They won. I'm not taking anything away from anyone. They beat me, right? Guys beat me, they beat me, right? And I make no excuses. If you beat me, you deserve the win. Absolutely. But I knew my grappling was good. I'd submitted like brown and black belts, so I knew my grappling was good. I just needed to make it work for jiu-jitsu competition. And so I stuck it out, and it was things like, for me, I couldn't pass a guard. My guard passing was poor. Because in MMA, I never had to. And even in the submission matches that I didn't have to pass a guard. I could generally out wrestle people. Maybe I can't, but my guard's decent. I fight well off my back anyway, so it wasn't a problem. If I take you down and you put a guard on me, I'm going to leg lock you, right? Or I'm going to pick you up and slam you. Or in MMA, I'm going to punch you in the mouth, right? Guard's really not so useful when you're getting smacked in the mouth and someone's sweaty and they haven't got a gi on and they're allowed to leg lock you and they're allowed to neck crank you and they're allowed to power bomb you. The guard doesn't become so useful, right? It's still a very effective tool for fighting, but guard passing specifically was low on my list of priorities. I would happily take someone down and sit in their guard because I'm just going to punch their face in. So I didn't worry about guard passing, and I never saw it much because when I was using guard in fights, people punching me, so I never saw their guard passing either. It's not a big thing in MMA. I think it should be, to be honest. Since I've well, okay, so let me backtrack a little bit. I don't want to jump ahead of myself. So I developed my guard passing. In fact, that's pretty much all my jiu-jitsu journey's been, is developing my guard passing, because the rest of my game was pretty well-rounded, but my guard passing was weak. Well, I mean, I say weak. I mean, I didn't have any. Right? It's non-existent. It's white belt level. If a blue belt put me in their guard and it was decent, I wouldn't pass. So I'd win by 2 points on the takedown. So so I addressed my guard passing, and I've worked that really, really hard. Every session was just guard passing, just for 5 years. Right? Guard passing. So now my guard passing is pretty decent. Right. And when I've gone to other clubs to train MMA, just for a bit of fun, I've actually found that the guard passing was so useful. But you don't think about it because, well, I mean, your guard was punch you in the mouth. But when I was in people's guards, I could walk through them with my jiu-jitsu competition jiu-jitsu level guard passing. I could then walk through an MMA guy's guard and punch him from mount, and it was way better. Right? So I think guard passing, learning the jiu-jitsu and filling up, addressing my holes in jiu-jitsu actually helped my MMA skills as well. Things that you wouldn't necessarily address. So anyway, moving quickly on, once I got that nailed and I wasn't afraid to be in a guard and mainly just avoid it in the first place, then I started racking up a ton of wins at Purple. And I got like 17 gold medals or something like that at Purple. And it got to a point where I was really just making a statement, right? It's like, okay, I want to make an argument to get a brown belt now. I've beaten, I won the Europeans no gi. I've won the Masters Europeans. It wasn't Lisbon, absolutely. I'm not misrepresenting anything, but I did beat the best guys in my division in a gi in Europe, at Purple as well. So I beat them in gi. I beat them in no gi. I had a really good argument, for moving up a belt. So I just kept racking up wins, racking up medals, making it, so you can't ignore me, right? And after 2 years of being competitive and doing well, well, 6 months of not doing so well, then another 6 months of doing all right, and then a year of really, really crushing it. Then which was right, seems about right to me. I got my brown belt, which absolutely seemed about, so all those seemed about the right timing, and then, and then I got my brown belt. And at brown belt, my first competition a month later was the Euros. And I was a little bit nervous, my guy in my first match had 4 stripes on his brown belt. And I'm thinking, right, I'm a brand new brown. But I beat him, not easily. It was close, but I beat him, and then I beat the next guy and I got to the finals. And I lost in the finals on 2 points. So I showed that I belong at brown belt. So that was quite nice,
Definitely.
Yeah. So, that's all in a gi as well. I did the, what's the one they do in London? They're quite fancy one. The Abu Dhabi.
Oh, the Abu Dhabi Pro, So the Abu Dhabi.
I did that, and I won that. Like a month or two after getting my brown belt. Then I did it the following year, and there's no one in my division, so I went up a weight and down a bracket, and I got absolutely destroyed. I got ragdolled. Yeah, I got beaten senseless. But I've won some good things at Brown as well.
Yeah. And what do you think? I mean, the rule sets, because obviously you did NAGA, you did the IBJJF, Abu Dhabi Pro, all of which have different rule sets. So, I mean, how's the rule sets for you when you come in? Are you able to adapt to the rule set easily because of obviously your MMA training, or how does the rule set come for you?
Yeah, so the Abu Dhabi wasn't too different. That's pretty similar to IBJJF. I mean, their scoring's a little different, right? So you've got to take that into account, because in my opinion, at least, scoring's really, really important. You've got 5 minutes to submit someone. It can be tough, right? You have to know how to play the points. I mean, I've beaten guys that I shouldn't beat. If we were doing submission only, I would beat them. But I know how to play the points. And I've had it used on me as well, right? I've had guys that I'm better than them, but they beat me by advantage, right? It is what it is. I mean, you can't complain. I mean, the scores are the scores, right? If the referee gets it wrong, then you can complain. But I mean, if a guy beats you legitimately, like one guy I was ahead on points of by advantages. Then he swept me in the last 30 seconds of the match. He swept me, so he's up by 2 points. And I'm up on advantages, but I've got no points. So then I sweep him back with 2 seconds to go, but 3 seconds to stabilize the position, right? So I sweep him over. I don't have time to hold him for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
He wins the match, and absolutely he deserved to win that match, right? Because that's the rule set, right? But to address the question that you gave me, for different rule sets, no, I don't find it too different. I competed on Polaris, but that's not too different to NAGA, other than, I mean, Polaris, again, it's scoring, right? Like, it's a 15-minute match, and you've got to kind of win each 5-minute frame.
Yeah.
So although the legal techniques are the same, like you can heel hook and you can neck crank and you can you can't slam people, I don't think, right? I can't remember. It's been a long time since any of us could compete, right? But you can't slam anyone. But effectively the rules are very, very similar to NAGA. But the scoring's different. Like I wouldn't score any points for a takedown. I wouldn't score any points necessarily for a guard pass. And, it's a bigger picture. I've got to win each 5-minute frame. So the scoring is quite a big thing. But that said, do I find it different? Which is the question. Do I find it? Yes. The real I don't find NAGA different. Because, and let me explain why. Because it's point scoring. Right? I don't find, although the techniques are different. In NAGA you can heel hook, right? But that's fine because I've got decent leg locks. Okay, I'm not the best at leg locks, but I am decent. I mean, I'm better than your average brown or black belt at leg locks. I mean, I've got good leg locks. I mean, so I'm all right with that. Neck cranks, I'm all right with those. I wrestle all right. So although NAGA has very different rules to IBJJF, it's grappling with points, and I can do that. Then you do go to Polaris, and really it's submission only. Okay, you've got to win each frame, right? But you're not scoring 2 points for this, 3 points for that, 4 for a mount. You've got to win the frame, and that's very different. Trying to fight for submission when you spent 5 years training to win by points, and of course, if someone gives me, I'm not trying to say I want to be boring. If I can submit people, I will, and I have. I've been to competitions, I've submitted a number of people, but I can get ahead on points first. I want to rack up the points. So your strategy is completely different. IBJJF, I'm going out and I'm looking to take you down and get my 2 points. Then I'm looking to pass your guard and get another 3 points, right? And if I get a mount for another 4, well, the match is done, and I'll sit there. And I know it's boring. I don't need to submit you. I'll look for it and I'll try, but it's not the end of the world. But if you're doing something like Polaris, I've done other shows that are submission only. Like Lee Johnson's event, down in Essex. I've done that. Then the strategy is different. You've got to go out there and think about how you're going to attack a submission and finish the guy. Nobody gives a shit if you take him down for 2 points, right? Because it doesn't matter. So I'd say it's not necessarily the rules that make a big difference. It's the scoring that makes a bigger difference.
Yeah.
that's where your strategy really has to take into account. I'm also going to say that I think a lot of people don't consider their strategy for points. You know, and I've seen that a lot. I've seen guys that are fantastic grapplers lose competitions that they shouldn't be losing. Like guys, I've seen guys pass guard, and rather than secure 3 points, which would have won them the match, they immediately try and get on the guy's back. Like secure the points first, then take his back, right? But they don't, and then the guy escapes the back, and all they've got out of all of that is an advantage. Then the other guy's got 2 advantages, and he beat you, but you passed his guard, right? I mean, you should be 3 points up. You know, so I think points strategy for points and for the rule set is really important, and people don't always take it as well as they don't give it as much importance as they should, in my opinion. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I see it a lot. I referee as well for local comps in Scotland for Scottish grappling, and you see it because obviously being a referee, you're right there, and then you see someone they'll pass the guard and then they'll quickly go for something else. They don't stabilize the position, so then at the end of the fight they'll have won maybe. I mean, they'll have went in, I don't know, half a dozen different positions where they would have got points. But then you look at the scoreboard and there's like 2 points for a takedown. And then they're looking at the scoreboard like that. But I passed the guard. I did this. I did that. I got the mount. And you're like, yeah, but you need to stabilize it for that 3 seconds.
Exactly. And again, to give it another answer, a really good bit of advice that David Enuma gave me was that you don't necessarily have to be better than your opponent in jiu-jitsu. You need to outscore them. He told me that he's beaten people in competition that he shouldn't be beating, really, right? You know, and I've absolutely taken that on board. I'm the same. You know, I've beaten guys that I shouldn't be beating, but because I understand the rule set and I'm playing to the points in the rule set. You know, that's really, really good advice as well. You know, play to the points, play to the rule set. You know, it doesn't matter how much experience a guy's got or how good he is. If I'm 2 points up and I can keep my 2 point advantage, you know, my 2 point lead. You know, so
definitely.
Okay. Anyway, right. So,
so the last thing for you then. I mean, what's next for you then? I mean, obviously you've had a fantastic career coming through MMA, obviously coming into jiu-jitsu and things like that. So, I mean, what's next for you?
It's hard to say too much because we don't know, right? You know, I mean, with lockdown, we don't know when we can compete. You know, end of last year, I had a really, really good end of last year. I went to Rome and I won the Rome Open. Then I went and then I won the European no gi. It's the same weekend over there. Then I went into the absolute division in the no gi, and I got to the finals and got a draw in the finals. And we both got disqualified for stalling. But again, against guys way bigger than me in the absolute, right? You know, I mean, the finals, the absolute. You know, I'm tinier. You know, I compete in the 67 division. So that was really good. You know, so we're gonna get like a double silver, right? So you know, end of last year, I won the Rome Open. I won the European no gis. I got a draw in the finals of the open weight European no gis. Then I came over and did the British no-gi Open, you know, Braulio's competition, and I went up 2 weight classes. I only had one opponent, really nice guy, but I won that as well. You know, so I had a really, really strong finish to the end of last year. And I want to compete. You know, I want to jump back in, and you know, I'm doing really well, and I just want to get back in and compete again. But I can't say when because none of us know. You know, I mean, if you want to ask me when we're going to compete again, then I'm going to give you speculations on a vaccine, right? I
mean, we'll be Master 7 by the time we get back competing. Do you know what I mean? So it's a long way off.
Apparently, I'm only 12 and a half, right?
So you might be in the adult division by that point then.
Yeah, maybe.
Nice one. And then coming out of VT, I mean, obviously, who are we looking out for?
Right. So, we were mainly, I would say, all of our competitors coming out of here. We were MMA guys, right? But now, I switched it more to a jiu-jitsu, MMA and jiu-jitsu gym, and there was some resistance from some of the guys there. Like, well, you know, we don't want to do all that pajama pulling around wearing a gi. It's nonsense, right? but now they've all embraced it and they all love it, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, what, you know, I've got a couple of purple belts there under me. I've got a few blue belts, and I can't, you know, but that's about it. You know, I mean, we haven't got people that, you know, they tend to be masters athletes. You know, we do have some young guys, but until they get anywhere, I can't really say. You know, like our younger guys are blue or white belt. So
yeah,
I don't want to say anyone's name, put them on the spot, and then nothing happens, right? But you know, we do have some talent there. You know, like I like to think we punch above our weight. We're a small little club in a market town, you know, of a small population, and our team's always, you know, if we compete, we're always up there. You know, our guys do very, very well. You know, at a local, national, and international level, my guys are winning a lot of stuff. You know, like when we went to the British no-gis in the last year, I think we got like 4 gold medals. You know, so some of our young lads, I'm going to give a shout out actually to the young lad, Daniel Broad. He's 9 years old. He might turn 10 over lockdown. I don't know. But he's a fantastic he's going to do really well. He's going to be an MMA star and a jiu-jitsu star. As a young lad, he's so mature in his attitude, trains really well, works on his submissions, works on what he needs to work on, works on his takedowns, works on all his stuff. You know, like during lockdown, you know, he's in his gym training, you know, doing bag work and stuff, you know, going out for runs. You know, he's so respectful, competes, shakes his opponents, you know, genuinely friendly with his opponents, you know. So yeah, that kid's going to go far. Yeah, if I have to name anyone at my gym, little Daniel Broad, he is going to go far.
Nice one. So keep an eye out for Daniel over the coming years. So and then final thing for you then, Leigh. So obviously it's been a good career. It's been a long career. Anybody you want to kind of thank? Anybody sponsor?
It's not done yet. I'm going to compete for a lot longer still.
No, I don't. But what I'm saying is, anybody you want to thank for the journey so far, and any sponsors? Do you have any sponsors you want to shout out and things like that? Yeah.
Okay. So for most of my jiu-jitsu training career was under David Anuma, right? Who runs CFS. So I absolutely want to thank him, you know, for everything he's done for me. And all of the CFS guys, they were great, you know, like Martin Carhill, Steve Payne, Gary Baker, you know, all those guys. I don't list everyone, you know, like Andy Nugent, all those guys are fantastic guys. Love them to pieces. Really, really good guys. So I want to thank them as a team, you know, for helping me. We branched off, went our own way, and we affiliated with, as I said, with Ben Poppleton under Gordo Europe, which made a load of sense because a load of, as I said, I've known Ben a long time. Like we've been friends since something like 2004. He didn't even have a black belt at the time; he was a brown belt. You know, I've known Ben a very long time, and a load of my mates were already with Ben. You know, like Simon McGovern, Kenny Baker, Jack McGee, Chris Thompson. You know, all these guys. And since I've joined, they've got a massive team, which I don't think people realize. It's a huge team with a load of really good guys. You know, like you've got Cameron, you've got Sam up north running the lakes. You know, you've got loads of good guys that, you know, people aren't aware that they're all on the same team. They've been super supportive. They're a really nice group of guys. You know, so I want to thank them. You know, for being really cool with me and welcoming me really nicely. Sponsor wise, I've got I want to go a local supplement guy that we've got here, Cal Singh. He runs Bad Boy Supplements. He's a good friend of mine, and he sponsors me, sorts me out, you know, like my nutrition and stuff. I always give him a shout out, you know, and you know, I'm a sponsored athlete. That's really cool. Euroback brand. The guy's moved to, he used to be Demon Fightwear. He moved to, and he sponsored me when he was Demon. He moved to Australia, and he sponsors me. Really nice kit, you know, so I get some cool stuff from him. Grapple Kings, sort me out some really nice gis. Most of my pictures, I think the one you use, I'm in that green gi. It's really cool. I like my green gi. That's from Grapple Kings, and he sorts me out like a load of kit as well. And so I'm just reading people off here. Sorry. If you're into body jewelry, which I'm not, right? But if you're into it, a very good friend of mine sponsors me, buys me kit and stuff, you know, and sorts me out some stuff. Jason Palmer, he runs Samurai Piercing. It was Ninja Piercing, and then he changed it to Samurai Piercing. I don't know. He works on eBay, and I think he changed. I don't know. Anyway, yes. If you're into that sort of stuff, yes, Samurai Piercing on eBay. And one other guy, Hawks Fitness UK. We kind of cross promote each other, which is really cool. You know, like he runs a fitness thing, and you know, and he gives me shout outs, and he sends me some kit and stuff, you know, and I give him shout outs. So that's really cool as well. You know, so if you're in the area for any of those guys, please support them if you can. You know, if you don't want to, that's up to you, I suppose, right? Hey, all those people have been really, really cool with me. Yeah. And I know I mentioned them earlier, but I'm also going to give one more shout out, and that is to the UK BJJ, because as I said, I was really skeptical and I didn't know if I could trust them or not. But this elite athlete scheme, I think it's been fantastic. You know, it's allowed jiu-jitsu guys to get back on the mats. And at least for me, I can't speak for everyone else, but at least for me, we've had no outbreaks because they give you a protocol, right? They say you've got to be checking temperatures, you've got to fill in forms. You know, every time you train, you've got to give deep clean. You know, you've got to register who's there. You've got to make sure that everyone's got their hands sanitized. You know, they've got protocols in place. And I've had no outbreaks at my gym. You know, I mean, maybe a lot of people haven't. You know, I don't know. You know, but by you know, like, people are podded up. You know, you can only train with select training partners, and that's your pod. You know, so you know they've got a chief medical officer. You know, they've got people on board. Really, it's not just someone having their mate, you know, sign forms off. You know, they've done it really, really properly to allow jiu-jitsu, the jiu-jitsu community to get back on the maps. Of course, if you're not an elite athlete, it's going to be difficult, and I absolutely understand that. But they have allowed, you know, people to get back on the mats and train, you know, and keep the sport alive.
Definitely. So a big shout out to the guys, because we did fill in the application, we sent it off, we got approved, but
brilliant.
The Scottish government had other ideas. So yeah, unfortunately, the Scottish government didn't recognise the elite athlete status. So we kind of, but we've been approved. I mean, as soon as they turn around and say, yeah, you're fine, then we can train. I mean, we got approved and stuff like that. It was good. It was a good application process. The application, don't get me wrong, it was a long application. You had to have everything. You had to have as you mentioned, a chief medical officer. So we had one of the guys in the gym who's an actual doctor. So he was a chief medical officer. Then you've got the reporting officer. The reporting officer is the one that reports back to the UK BJJ once they've taken all the paperwork and stuff.
Okay, right. I want to interrupt you. Sorry, I don't mean to be rude. I want to clarify. I read through their all of their documentation. You know, because I mean that's my job, right? I mean, I read a lot of documentation. I read fine print. You know, because as I said, as an engineer, I go through standards a lot. You don't need your own chief medical officer. They have one, and you can use it. I just want to clarify that for anyone else that wanted to apply. The application process is still open, and you can apply to the UK BJJ, and you don't have to have your own CMO. You would use that. You would use their CMO. You know, so you know, I just want to make that point that, you know, if anyone's thinking, oh, we want to apply, but we haven't got a doctor.
Yeah,
you don't have to have a doctor. You have to have someone from your gym, exactly as you mentioned. You have to have someone that acts as a COVID officer. So that's me in my case. And I fill in the forms and I send off all the data. But as far as a chief medical officer, they provide one, which is, I mean, if they didn't, if I had my own chief medical officer, I wouldn't even need them, right? But I don't. Which is really, really cool of them to sort that out. That's something that I thought was really, really fantastic.
Definitely. I mean, they've done a lot of good work, the UK BJJ. They don't always get the praise. As we know, obviously, the underground is kind of split down the middle. Some are for them, some are against them. But yeah, I mean, as they've done a lot over the last few years. So
I'm going to be honest, and I've seen some of the stuff where people have complained about them, and if I'm absolutely honest, I think some of it does hold some merit, right? I mean, it's a learning process for everyone. You know, I'm not going to say that they're holier than thou and they've done nothing wrong. I'm going to say that I think they've made some mistakes, right? You know, a few years ago, Dickie Martin put a post up and he said, "Why aren't you a member of the UK BJJ?" And I answered, I said, "This is why I'm not, because I don't want to be, and I don't think I have to be, and if I'm honest, I don't necessarily agree with everything you're doing, right?" So I absolutely understand some criticisms. You know, I mean, I'm not paid by them. You know, I am now on their council. You know, since I did the elite athlete thing, I thought, I said, look, I really want to help you guys out. You know, I think what you're doing is good. can I help in any way? You know, and they say, well, you know, we'd like you to be on the council. I said, well, that'd be fantastic. You know, but I don't get paid or anything for that. You know, all I do is hold them accountable, right? And say, you know, you can't do this, you can't do that, right? I don't agree with you. That's basically what I do. But so I absolutely understand the criticism. I know a lot of people, as you said, a lot of people are split down the middle, you know, and don't really like them. And I think that there is some validity to that. But I will say that I know Simon personally, you know, I know Dickie personally, you know, I know these guys. I know other. It's not just Carlson's as well. You know, I know Dave Coles, who, you know, I know Neil Williams. You know, I know these guys personally. Yeah. And they're all good guys. You know, they all really want jiu-jitsu to succeed. You know, they're not in it. They're not in it to rinse people for money. You know, they aren't. I know they're not. Right. You know, and I'm not getting paid to say that. I'm not. I mean, I'm open to bribes though. But I haven't been.
Well, listen, I've been a member. I've been a UK BJJ member for 6 years now. So, as I said, I always support them. As I say, they do some great stuff. So, always support them. So, yeah, definitely jiu-jitsu community. Definitely get behind them because they are behind the scenes. They're doing a lot of good stuff. So
they are. They are really pushing hard to get us back on the mats. You know, they are. You know, they are. You know, they are.
Yeah, definitely. But listen, Leigh, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, as I say, definitely you were one of my favourite people. When my friend Damien mentioned get Leigh on, and I'm thinking, yeah, but Leigh, obviously you're more well known for MMA. So I was thinking, well, would he want to come on? So I was thinking, would he want to come on and talk
MMA,
about?
that's what I'm known for, yeah.
So, but I'm glad. As I'm glad you come on. As I'm sure you've got 100 other stories, especially about jiu-jitsu. So maybe at some point we could potentially get you on for a part 2 at some point. So
yeah, I mean, like maybe next time I'll give you my kind of ideas on techniques and stuff, you know, and strategies for competing, rather than me going on rants about politics and Trump and.
But listen, it's been an absolute honour, sir. All right.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Definitely, if I'm down your way, as I say, once all this stuff's sorted out, then if I'm down your way, then I definitely will want to pop in. In fact, you're in my division. If it comes to the absolute, me and you're similar age.
Absolute. I'm going to say, because weight-wise, I've only got another 127 kilogram in my gym. A guy called Maz.
Right.
Maz, and he's a bit, I think he's a bit heavier than you.
Yeah.
But he's close in weight. Yeah.
So I'd say that. No, listen, that will absolute. Maybe at some point we'll see each other.
Yeah.
So it'd be fun. It'd be fun. Listen, thank you again, and we'll speak to you soon, bro. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Take it easy, buddy. Bye bye.
Bye bye. You too. Bye bye.